All right, another one added to the Texans list. We already know a few names, and there's some pretty intriguing names to say the very least. Appreciate everyone for coming through. Only source of daily digital Texans content, the locker room. Subscribe, like the video, follow me on Twitter at Instagram at Landry Locker, and on Instagram at Landry Locker as well. You can hear me Monday through Friday, 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 610. Some big stuff going on at the station the next couple of days as well. Cal McNair promised a more transparent coaching search. There's been kind of like a creepy vibe when big things are happening on Kirby and at NRG, where you have, just trust issues, sneaky. Were they trying to hire Josh McCown? What are they doing? Like all that type of stuff. The transparency, he's coming through, at least at our station. You have Nick Caserio tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. with Sean Pendergast and Seth Payne. And then on Friday, I believe it's going to happen where Cal McNair spends the final segment with Seth and Sean at 9:45. And then the very first segment of In the Loop on Friday at 10 a.m., Cal McNair with me and the OG John Lopez. We always hear Lopez. Now, he and I sit on different sides of this. I don't think Cal McNair should be doing too many Q&As. I think he's finding himself as an owner right now. I think a lot of people probably wish that would have happened sooner. But as far as like Q&As and going up there and answering questions and stuff like that, I don't think it's good for him. I think some people are built to do that, some aren't. But he's going to be with us. We'll ask him questions for sure. We'll ask him questions. No doubt. 10 a.m. on Friday, Cal McNair. Also had, and get the comments, and I'll read them as we go. So it's more interactive. I don't want to fall behind too much. I've been kind of falling behind on the comments. Michael says he's at work. We'll be watching. Thanks for the up-to-minute content. Well, thank you for watching. Hopefully you don't get fired for watching the locker room at work. But, Matthew says, Landry out here doing the work the fans. Love to see the passion for what you do. Let's go. It's a nice-ass beard right there, Matthew. Scott says, D'Amico Ryans and draft Will Anderson. I'm not opposed, especially if Bryce Young goes number 1, but I don't think he will. But if D'Amico Ryans is coming in, you don't think he has a little bit of love for the Alabama quarterback, given the fact that he's a Alabama player himself? I don't know who he would like. I don't know if Caserio is going to like the quarterback. I don't know how much of a say neutered Nick has at this point. Maybe we'll get Nick Caserio back to his old ways. I'm almost hoping we hear Silicon Valley references tomorrow on Payne and Pendergast, because Nick was broken yesterday, which is not the worst thing. There does need to be some evaluation, but I wouldn't mind hearing a old Michael Dell or Mark Zuckerberg story from old Nick. It's kind of like when Apple started. At first, nobody believed in them, and they were making hires and they were having a turn, and then and blah blah blah. What are the chances we get a 3rd or 4th rounder for Cooks? I don't know. Not a very good receiver market. I don't think they're going to get much more than they could have gotten had they traded him at the deadline. And now we're hearing familiar name DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins could be traded. So the wide receiver trade market's a little more intriguing. And tell me if you've heard this before. DeAndre wants another deal. So see how that goes. I wonder Landry will actually smile today. He always looks so angry. Man, I'm not angry. Yesterday was a long day, man. Very long day. Appreciate the love. Matt F. Cook says, Vincent, I think a lot of Texans fans echo your sentiment. St. Christopher says, Nick Caserio sure doesn't sound like a guy that will last past the season. Very true. How bad was Lovey's win Sunday? It wasn't great. Having the number 1 pick's better than having the number 2 pick. So it wasn't great. Yeah, Casario at 7:30 should be interesting. If we lose Young, what QB will they likely go for? I don't know. I think they're going to draft a quarterback. I don't like any of these guys in the first round besides Bryce Young. I don't. They might. So, I mean, it'll come down to the other 3 guys, I'm sure, in Bryce, CJ Stroud, Will Levis, and Anderson. And I don't know that you take Anderson or Levis that early. I don't know when CJ Stroud's supposed to go, but I don't know. I hear a lot of people bring up Lovey won the Hardo Bowl. Congrats, loser. He did. He deserved it, though. Good for him. I hear a lot of people, and initially I thought this was true, that talk about, like, CJ Stroud is he's an athlete's first. Brian Burney, probably going to be a Mulligetta guy. I don't think that that's like a big obstacle. I think they're professional with each other, and they would be, they'd be able to work together. In the whole thing, if somebody trades up and drafts Bryce, then the Texans should try to trade down and build a roster, then draft a guy next year. Again, if Bryce is gone, I'm not completely opposed to it. Although it's hard to be a quarterback away. I mean, you talk about building roster and then finding quarterback. We've seen Indianapolis in that situation. So I don't know if the Texans want to be in the position Indianapolis is in, but who knows? The Millen says Lopez is going to go ham. We'll see. We'll see. I won't underestimate him, but we'll see. What's the rumors of Nick being fired? You're talking about the Josina Anderson tweet. I'll bring that up right now. I'm glad you brought that up. That's a hell of an assist by you. Let me get the share screen so we have the full context. Man, Josina's got that eye glitter on up there in the thing. All right, I'll put this up. Yeah, Josina's reporting drama. I don't really know like what to make of this report. Josina's had some interesting stuff. She's a really good reporter, but sometimes some of the stuff is like confusing to follow. I know with the Watson thing, it was pretty confusing. But this is what Josina said, and there's a couple of tweets here. Actually, let's see. There's my show doc. Okay, here we go. Josina says, I'm told there's still uncertainty surrounding the current front office situation with the Houston Texans. To put it respectfully, per league source. Okay. Per league source can mean a lot of things. It could mean an agent. It could mean, a player. I don't know. And she says, while the current structure assists ownership in navigating this offseason for the time being, it is tenuous at best. We'll see. Let's read that one more time. There's still uncertainty surrounding the current front office situation with the Houston Texans. To put it respectfully, per a league source. Now, I was at that press conference yesterday, and it was awkward. So they admitted that there was a new process. Nick Casario said, if the new coach comes in and he doesn't want to work with me, we'll have to figure that out. He mentioned 5 times total about, his run potentially ending and stuff. I thought it was weird. So sometimes when I hear stuff like that, I just wonder, are we just saying this because you watched the press conference and you could tell it was awkward? So you're kind of saying, sources say, and that's not to say she's making it up, but sometimes like some of these NFL dudes, it's like a big gossip fest. Like everybody's talking. So I think anyone, the guys in line, Tyler Elliott, Max Garcia, Matthew, the Millen, like any of you guys in the chat, You could have watched that. And whether you're some NFL guy, I mean, I think you would probably say there's some uncertainty with the current front office, and the current structure assists ownership in navigating the offseason at the time being. It is tenuous at best. I mean, that the definition of tenuous is very weak or slight, very slender. Yeah, I would say Nick looked very weak yesterday and very slender. So what exactly is being said here? Is it basically someone watching the press conference and realizing that? And then there was this tweet. I found this one interesting. This is the one that's a little bit interesting. It says, meanwhile, and this is her opinion. This is not a report. This is an opinion. So we got to, like, when you're reading these reports, you've got to be able to separate the report from the opinion. That was her report, per a source. This is her opinion. Meanwhile, I think it is interesting when some of these coaching candidates speak to ownership direct and outside of the whole interview structure. Okay, so does that mean that people are reaching out to Cal McNair and they don't want to work with Nick Caserio and maybe they don't like the process? That's possible. And I do think that, and I appreciate your question, JT. I do think that, we can talk about how this coaching search is different from the last couple of years. And it is. Like, it's definitely different because you don't have the Deshaun Watson drama. You don't have the Jack Easterby factor. There's no sexual allegations. There's no disgruntled quarterback. You have more assets. The draft equity is clear. The cap space is better. So you do have more assets. And I do think there's like some exaggeration for, whether or not people would want this job or not. I do think there's some exaggeration there. I'm talking about this right now, Evie, on the Nick being fired thing. But I do think there's consequences for the sketchy, weird, creepy ways in which this front office functioned for a while, where Jack Easterby was representing the Houston Texans organization at stats conventions, or he was using this job to increase his Rolodex and his connections and all that type of stuff. And Jack Easterby was talking to this guy and telling this guy this, and then the front office, whether it's Cal, whether it's Nick, is talking to someone else, or maybe it's Jack and Nick at the same time. But I think that I think that there is like some sort of consequence of that to where maybe people just don't want to mess with you anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, you asked David Culley to fire Tim Kelly. Look, I thought David Culley should have been one and done. I think anyone who actually watched the Texans thought he should have been one and done. Same with Lovie Smith. But there was a report that David Culley was asked to fire Tim Kelly. Why the hell would that be the case? He didn't hire his ass. Y'all kept him there. And there's reason to believe that you kept him there. And I don't know if y'all know this. Tim Kelly's agent is the same as Jack Easterby and Nick Caserio's. Now, they ended up firing him. They really had no choice. But maybe there's a chance that, and I think this is kind of a Jack thing, and maybe Caserio bought into it, but maybe there's a chance that they didn't want to say, we fired one of our agent's own guys. It's a chance. Why the hell else would you ask David Culley to do that? David Culley would have done anything you said. So now you want him to be a hardo and fire an offensive coordinator? And oh, by the way, the next offensive coordinator was worse. So I think that's kind of the consequence of the sketchy and weird way that this stuff kind of went on. Although I do think it's an appealing job, and I think Cal being more active can be a good thing and actually a change, despite, the narratives about, what Cal is and all that type of stuff. I think Cal just sat back and let them do their thing, just like he did O'Brien. So now he's active. And it's like I've used the Jerry Jones theory. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say that Cal McNair knows what the hell he's doing. I don't know. And I'm not going to sit here and say that because the process is different, the results are going to be better. That would be a lie. And I will say, though, that it's different than what has gotten them in this situation, which is trusting people 100%. That's not to say you shouldn't trust Nick. I'm not sitting here saying Cal McNair should be like making the draft board. But if you look at Jerry Jones, from probably 1989 to 1994, he let Jimmy Johnson do things his way. And then Jerry Jones decided that he wanted to be more hands-on, and he was too hands-on for a long time. He's kind of backed off since, a little after 2000. Like, their scouting department's actually really good. There's a reason that they have a lot of depth. Houston native Will McClay oversees that, and they do a hell of a job. And Jerry lets them do their thing. Jerry wanted to draft Johnny Manziel. They drafted Zach Martin, the good Martin, not the crappy one that we had here, Nick Martin. But Jerry changed from what he was doing from, when Jimmy left up till before he hired Parcells. So Jerry changed. And it was for the better. Still come up short in December and January and stuff, but he changed. And that's what Cal McNair is doing right now. So it's at least different. There's no guaranteed results, but it's at least different. Tyler, please ask Cal about Bill and how he let that happen. Okay. We'll ask him about that. Joseph says, shameless plug with the Yeti. Man, my sister actually gave me these. It's not even a shameless plug. You can see the locker room thing up there. So it's not even a shameless plug, but yeah, it's cool. Sister gave me that for Christmas. I thought it was really cool. Ryan Crossingham asks, are interviews all tomorrow or are they Thursday too? Hope we find out who accepted interviews. So how that works is the new league process, and this is what I was told from someone pretty high up. They the team goes to a database, they request to interview someone, and then they open up the database on either Tuesday or Wednesday, and it says permission granted or permission not granted, and then there's like a time, and they try to get around all that. So, like, I think the other team, San Francisco, gets it. They'll talk to D'Amico. Hey, D'Amico, do you want to talk to them? Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Well, we got a team meeting here. We got this, da, 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 da. So what times work? And then they'll give them a window, and it'll either say access granted or access denied. And then on like Wednesday or Thursday, we'll know whether that's going to happen or not. So that's how it will go. Tyler, I'm begging you, Landry, to please don't have back on Cal. Ask him challenging questions. I mean, look, we'll ask Cal the questions about the search and stuff like that. And I'm sure like the past will come up. But I mean, I don't think it's like going to be like coming to blows or anything like that. I am intrigued to see how Lopez handles it. I'm going to play off Lopez on this one. And then Sean and Seth will kind of set the tone, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, he's going to be more active. He wants to be transparent. So we'll ask him exactly what that means, what the process means, and all that. James says he has a feeling Nick Caserio is gone. The weird comments, and then what Josina said, it's not looking good for him. Again, I just wonder if the Josina thing was just a summary from a league source about what he saw at the press conference and how weird it was. I thought that was strange. Tyler, hilarious Texans getting killed for back-to-back head coach firings, and neither of those guys will work for any other team. Yeah, that's the thing that's just like conveniently left out, that those guys weren't going to get jobs anywhere else, and they were actually beneficiaries of the Texans' turmoil. Now, if you want to look at it and say, well, they were hired to get fired, okay, yeah, they were short-term guys, because long-term guys probably didn't want the gig. But yeah, they were. We knew the Texans, like we saw the list, it wasn't impressive. So it's really, really strange, how that whole thing works. There's a lot of reasons to criticize the Texans. The back-to-back one and done, I just don't know. Luke says he doesn't want the same old Nick. I think a lot of people think that. Humility isn't a bad thing, especially if it's warranted. You're talking about Caserio being humbled. Yeah, not a bad thing at all. I don't think it's bad at all. I think it's actually a good thing being neutered. I think, I'm kicking him in the balls a little bit while he's down just because I think there's been a smug, out of touch way he's gone about his business. And whether it was his fault or not, whether it was his doing, he had the creepiest, most incompetent, shady, sketchy, two-faced slime ball as his running mate. And other than that, he's a really good guy. But I saw some of the things that Easterby has said in the past, and I'll be honest, I got triggered. And this isn't really stuff that say on the radio. I'll say a little bit more on here just as far as that. But like, I've seen Easterby multiple times say, well, this guy's not good at his job, blah, blah, blah. And then yada, yada, yada. It's like, are you good at yours? And I heard Nick say that with Sean and Seth. The systems and processes stuff, the calling out the media and then not being specific on what you're calling them out on. I just think I just on top of the way that the Wednesday quarterback announcement was handled and all that type of stuff, I was just kind of annoyed by it. No softball questions. There'll be some softball. Come on. I'll ask questions, but there's going to be softballs with me. I'm going to have fun. I want to know what a billionaire 16-year-old's first car is, honestly. And I'm probably going to play some Connect 4, but what do you think Cal McNair's first car was? I honestly want to know what a billionaire baby's first car is. That's one of the questions I want to know. But yeah, we'll ask about the coaching process. We'll ask, what about the process do you think was wrong? What was the breaking point with Jack Easterby? Probably won't get 100% answers, but it's fine. He's coming in. He's trying to be as transparent as he can with you guys. I don't know if he's going to be doing like weeklies like Jerry Jones anytime soon. Silicon Valley. I need that Silicon Valley reference tomorrow from Nick, just for old time's sake. Brandin Cooks and Rex Burkhead for D-Hop. You doing that? LOL EA Sports. Big listener there because we do the EA Sports draft. Thoughts on Cliff coming to Texans? OC for Bryce would be awesome. I don't know if Cliff Kingsbury wants to be an OC at this point. I don't really see that. I think he probably just wants to chill right now. I've heard people mention that though. I really do think the McNairs busted him down and made it clear it's put up or shut up time, which they should. QB needs to be number one focus. You can get pieces after that. Cannot go another season with a mediocre quarterback. That's a fact. Marcus asks, would you be open to a Hopkins return? Not really, because he wants a new deal. I wouldn't pay Nuke what he deserves at this point. I don't mean that bad. I just think at this point in his career and at this point with where the Texans are and with the possibility of getting a young receiver, maybe with that first round pick or some of the guys in the second, I just don't think I would be going with that. 2 a.m., bruh. Don't know what. Oh, dang, 2 a.m. I really hope we draft a wide receiver. We need some flashy picks. We're going to get some flashy picks. Believe that. Try to lead Cal and Hannah the right way with some insight from the fans that we want to coach, if that's possible. I think they listen, man. Like if you've noticed what they've done, they listen. And that's the other thing I think you need to they listen. They're listening. They hear you. So it's not like, they're doing different stuff. There's change. So, if you talked to Cal McNair 2 years ago, it'd be a little different, but it does seem like he's listening, right? Like he's checking Caserio. He's more involved in the process. They're talking about changing uniforms, all that type of stuff. So I think he is listening. I think Caserio mistakes from this past year, not trading Cooks. He should. And I would feel weird if I were Nick Caserio not being able to get that done. Daunting, exhausting, and exciting at times. I'm assuming you're talking about the Texans. Nick is not putting this year of his career on Davis Mills. That is fair. Yes, Tunsil will be extended. Will number 2. The Ghost of Judah Tribe. Hey, Texans fans, we love your former coach, by the way. He's always a Bear. Hopkins will probably come to us, and your last cast was wonderful. I loved the spite you had for the Bears. You guys are cool. Congrats to the Bears, man. You got a guy who you believe in as a quarterback, although I don't think Justin Fields is going to end up being the franchise guy. Do need to get him some more weapons, and he is dynamic. I just don't – I don't know how dynamic, and the passing stats in a lot of ways were actually worse than Davis Mills. But yeah, I feel you, Bears. That was cool. And it was cool seeing the people in the stadium excited. That was funny. JJ Watt signs with Texans and will be honored. He doesn't need to sign with them to be honored. He will be honored. I'm expecting like a JJ retired jersey next season, or a retired number. If they miss out on Young, should we go defense with the second pick? Maybe. The QB school does a good QB breakdown. Yes, he does. I'm a big fan of that. Has CJ Stroud declared? Yes, he's coming out. Texans just need to make it seem like they're drafting one of the players the Bears want to detract them from trading. There's going to be a lot of gamesmanship going on. He's going to go, though. Like, CJ's going to go. He hadn't officially said it, but I think he will. What if he doesn't? What if CJ gets like $8 million to stay at Ohio State? Man, people look like they'll be willing a king's ransom for that first pick. Thanks again, Texans fans. Again, anyone know where I can get a massage in Houston? I don't. Some people might. If they don't love a QB at 2, why not trade back? And as Detroit or Seattle, there's a lot of possibilities. I think they'll probably just be looking for a quarterback. Nick seemed very, very nervous yesterday. He did. His voice was cracking. Was Nick just saying, F it, oh, well, do it your way, we'll see how the balls goes? I don't think so. Again, I'm really intrigued to hear what he sounds like tomorrow at 7:30. It might have just been a long day for Nick. I mean, you had to watch what you watched on Sunday. You basically watched Brandin Cooks take away your livelihood. You lost the number 1 pick. You flew back to Houston. You had to fire the head coach. You had to go through all that. You had to talk to players. You had to talk to staff. And then at 5:30, you had to go talk to us jackasses. So maybe that was it. Maybe Nick Caserio comes in and we get a Mark Zuckerberg or who knows? Who's another? I always use Zuckerberg or Steve Jobs. Is there like another Silicon Valley person that Nick Caserio maybe looks up to and wants to model himself after? I know Jack Easterby said he wanted to make the offices look more like Google, like that was going to do anything, like the Google setup. But I don't know about that. I really like Nick. I kind of feel bad for him. He's inherited a dumpster fire. Yeah, he has, but better days are ahead, hopefully. Caserio is right behind the snake Easterby. That's pretty mean. That's really mean. Just like Chris Olave declared in 2021, oh, wait, nah, he went back to Ohio and was drafted in 2022. Okay, what's your point? Oh, you're talking about the Bryce Young thing going back for another year. Who knows, man? I don't know if he's going to declare or not. Not sure, but yeah, he did go to Ohio State for he played the 4 seasons, so not a lot in year 1. It looks like. I wasn't really familiar with Olave's like drafting. 149 watching him, 14 likes. We got to get them numbers up. It's all good either way. The fat cow seems to be taking control is good. Ryan said, I think Nick straight up just is embarrassed. All he's known from New England is winning. Maybe he's questioning his process. Well, he should. I mean, you should question a lot of things, for sure. For damn sure. The Ghost of Judah says, my goodness, Texans fans, you don't know how to hit the like button. Yeah, I mean, see, you hit the like button for me. Bears fans got my back, man. I'm probably like 40 deep in Chicago now. 40 deep right now, maybe. What an absolute bleep show. Man, Bears roasting us. Just let Jay Prince be your GM. He'd eliminate everyone. I'm moving past that one. I ain't even touching that, sir. Trying to get me in trouble. This is a completely different situation compared to the 2 previous years. Nick has done a pretty good job considering what he walked into. I guess. I mean, I don't know if he's done a good job. He's done an okay job. He did a great job with the Deshaun Watson stuff. But I don't know about the whole done a good job. He's done all right. KI says, what's the rumor of Ben Johnson bringing in Vic Fangio as DC? Man, Vic Fangio seems like he's rumored to be everyone's DC. Have y'all noticed that? Like, Vic Fangio is like the new link to everyone guy. It's hilarious. Like, I saw him rumored to be Sean Payton's DC, and now everyone. I mean, maybe Vic will get back in the league. He seems like he wants to coach forever, but it just seems like he's like linked to everyone. Oh, Vic Fangio is going to come along. Does that excite you? I mean, I like Vic, respect him, but yeah, okay. If you ask Cal, he's been a little too trusting of people, he'd give a straight answer. For sure he would. That's a good question. What do I think about Will Levis? Not much. The guy said, shout out to Landry's sister. I was like, whoa. Then I was, oh, he's talking about the Yeti. If you go too hard on Cal, he won't come back. That's fine. That's fine. That is all good. What are your thoughts on Hannah's comment on who has the final say? I don't know which comment you're referring to, LR. I think she was joking at the press conference, but I didn't hear her really say anything. But yeah. Cap and Trade says, sorry, I'm late. And you stay late, man. Cap and Trade tomorrow at 9:00. Seeing a lot of drafts that have Will Levis at number 2. What do you think about that? I don't like it. But you know, people didn't like when Josh Allen was drafted. That seems like the person that everyone wants to compare Will Levis to. And I've even heard Richardson compared to it. Like, it is, I said this the other day, like, is Josh Allen becoming like the Dirk Nowitzki of football, where everybody who like somewhat comes in a little bit raw is going to get compared to him, and you're just going to keep missing? I mean, how many next Dirk Nowitzkis were there? Go through like every 7-foot European stiff that could shoot a little bit was compared to Dirk. And we're talking about one of the best players to ever do it. And every player was compared to him. That's what it feels like is happening with Josh Allen now. Oh, Will Levis is Josh Allen. Anthony Richardson's Josh Allen. Might be 101, man. So I don't know. Maybe they'll like him. I think someone will fall in love with it. Why not hire Bud Kilmer? That's a Varsity Blues reference. I can always appreciate a good Varsity Blues reference. Clint says, every time I hear you sound like a little biatch. Appreciate that. That's a nice looking dog there. Looks great. Really hope we hire Shane Steichen, Ben Johnson, or Wes Phillips. 2 of those guys are on the list. Wes Phillips is not. I'm not sure that Wes is quite ready yet. But I wish him the best because I got nothing but respect for the Phillips family, as does anyone in Houston. Justin says, will you ask Cal what went through his mind when Akins caught the pass on 4th and 20, losing the wrong pick? See, they can't answer that. Like, people were asking, why didn't y'all ask him about the feeling of losing? Like, they can't answer that. You know what, I mean, you saw his face. You know what he felt like. But Cal, you know, he told Lovey on Monday, go out there to win. When you step on the field, go out there to win. And that's what they did. And that's what Lovey should have tried to do, because Lovey knew he was on the way out. So go ahead and win your game and figure that out. Young, Q Johnson, and Bijan Robinson, all possible. If you got Young number 2, Quentin Johnston with the Browns pick, and then Bijan, let's say Bijan slides to 16, 17, you could probably trade up for sure. You have the second pick in the second round. You have extra third round picks. That's a prime opportunity to trade up. I don't know that Bijan's going to slide, past 15 or something. But if he slides past 15 in the 20 range or whatever, I would imagine that you could give up that number 2 and one of your extra 3s and move up there and get Bijan Robinson. I would think. I don't know. It might cost a little bit more than that, but I'm not sure. But that would be the scenario in the path towards that. Favorite coaching candidate, mine would be Shane Steichen. Mine is D'Amico, just because I think the energy here would be good. But the Shane Steichen thing's interesting because of what he did with Jalen Hurts. But they have a lot of really, really good things around Jalen Hurts. Best offensive line, very good skill position guys. So I don't know, that's appealing. He's probably like 3rd, 4th on my list. I like the Ben Johnson thing, but Shane Steichen might be good. What free agents you think we can sign? We'll get into that a little bit later on. I wouldn't be opposed to overpaying a running back. They're going to have to get a couple of interior offensive linemen. And then your guess is as good as mine. We'll get into free agency a little bit later on. I think Nick is finally feeling the pressure of the job. Yes, he is. I think a lot of people feel that. Iceman going at Bears fans. The Bears are still the definition of garbage, will forever be known for the double doink. Let's go. H-Town, we got a response from the Bears fan. I just got my popcorn here. Show me that Super Bowl trophy. I'll wait. I looked up Landry Locker and got instructions on how to open a locker. Damn, dude. You opening for Kevin Hart or Bill Burr today? That's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. But a good, nice little joke. He's done a great job with what matters, getting the most from the Watson trade and his draft picks. Say what you want. Nick had one hell of a draft last year. You feel good about those first round picks though? Because that's what, and I'm not disagreeing with you. And I'm not, trust me, I'm not writing the whole book on Kenyon Green, and I'm not writing the whole book on Derek Stingley versus Sauce Gardner. I think Derek Stingley actually liked a tweet talking about getting out of cover 2. So he's ready to play man. I think Stingley's going to be a hell of a corner. And I'm not ready to say that Sauce is better, but we are talking about a guy who's going to probably be the defensive rookie of the year. I think it's between him and Hutchinson right now. Do we think that Kenyon Green for sure is going to validate being a good first round pick? Like, are we going to look back and say, man, they should have drafted Tyler Linderbaum, or man, they should have stayed put and drafted Jordan Davis? I don't think you can say really good draft if you're not hitting on your first round picks. Now, I like Quintariano. I like Pierce. I like Christian Harris. I like Petrie. So I think it's a good draft, but if you're going to trade back and get cute, then you've got to hit on those first round picks. Just give my Saints all those Cleveland picks and keep your own, then give Sean Payton full control and win. Okay. It sounds like a selfish wish. Dude, I'm 6'5", 240. It's going to be hard for me to fit in a locker for sure, but appreciate you for rolling on the Tuesday night here. You seem like a joy. Enjoy the double doink. Glad you're living in 1985. Man, we got the Bears beef here. I just love the Lombardi speak. It makes it hurt less. One Super Bowl will get you through some rough times. Bears are prime fans. Nick only wants to draft high character culture guys like Brandin Cooks. That's probably why they didn't draft Sauce Gardner. I don't know that Sauce Gardner isn't a high character guy. I never heard anything bad about him. We interviewed Luke Fickell last year, and Luke Fickell spoke very highly of him. He seems to bring pretty good culture to the Jets. They seem to gravitate towards him. I haven't heard anything bad about Sauce Gardner's character. I haven't heard anyone say anything. I mean, maybe you're saying because he wears a sauce chain or something like that. I've never heard anything but good things about him. He seems like a pretty good kid to me. So I don't know. C. Roy says Paul Gallant said he was sitting right behind Cal and Hannah. And when he asked Casario who had the final decision on the head coaching hire, Hannah said, I can tell you. She was joking. I was right there. I tweeted out my picture. She was kidding around. Latest on Mechie, don't know. I know he's feeling pretty good. I don't want to sit here and say he's going to be back at camp. I can't speak on that. But yeah, I have no idea. What that's going to do. Cal should have fired Lovie weeks ago. Yeah, my whole thing, and I've said this on the channel, I would have fired Lovie Smith 10 minutes after Nathaniel Hackett got fired. That would have been my thing. I guess they were playing teams tough, so it would have been rough, but that's what I would have done. Will you ask Cal if he regrets? I'm going to ask about video games because of all the things that Cal McNair gets made fun of, and there's a lot. If you were a billionaire's son and you had an office at NRG, wouldn't you play video games? Like my office would look like a Dave & Buster's. I would probably have shuffleboard, pool. I would have an old school Blitz, an old school NBA Jam, that old school Open Ice, the Simpsons arcade game, the Ninja Turtles arcade game. I might be dating myself. This is a very millennial layout by me. And I would have a popcorn machine. I mean, I would be playing video games all the damn time. Of all the things to get made fun of, that would be my thing. Izzy asks, what do you think of Mike Kafka? I like Mike Kafka a lot. There's some people that say that, part of the reason that some in Kansas City wanted Bieniemy to get a gig so much was because they wanted to promote Kafka because they knew they were going to lose him eventually. Patrick Mahomes isn't going to fall off. I mean, he's not going to fall off a cliff with Mike Kafka. I think the game is so slow for Patrick Mahomes that it doesn't matter. When Andy Reid leaves, Patrick Mahomes is still going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He's just built that way. But I like Mike Kafka. I think the job that they've done with Daniel Jones, he and Brian Dable, they got to the freaking playoffs with a guy who a lot of people thought should be replaced. And they did so in a pretty tough division. Now, they didn't have the toughest schedule in that division, but there's 3 teams from the NFC East in the playoffs. The Giants are in the playoffs, and I actually think they have a pretty decent chance of winning a playoff game against Minnesota. It's the first matchup where 2 teams in the playoffs have a negative point differential, and I think that the possibility of Mike Kafka, how a lot of people say, well, he improved his stock. I think the Mike Kafka stock could get hotter, and it should already be, but I'm a big fan of what he does. Stroud and Young and this team is 80% better. That's a hell of a percentage. I'm a big makeup percentage guy myself, so I'm not going to judge you with that. Chris says Jalen Petre's stats were a product of a horrible defense, plus he led the league in missed tackles. That's why. Look, man, I don't disagree that obviously when you have a bad front seven like the Texans do, tackling stats are going to be magnified. I don't disagree with that, but you can tell the dude can play a little bit. Like, let's be honest, the guy can play some ball. And I actually don't think he was used right. I think that eventually they put him in one spot and you saw him kind of react, but the ups, the downs, the missing tackles, all that type of stuff, say what you want and you can nitpick, but I think Jalen Petre showed enough that he's going to be a pretty damn good ball player. Maybe you feel different, but I disagree if you think that Jalen Petre is not going to be good. MA says Green was injured last offseason. If he works hard this summer and arrived at camp in shape, he will be good. My thing is this, though. He was out of shape. I'm not saying he wasn't hurt, but he was out of shape. And the body kind of showed. Where we're going to learn about Green Kenyon Green. I almost said Jalen Green. What's he got to do with anything? But where we're going to learn about him is how he comes back in April and what his body looks like. Because that's usually like when you see a massive transformation in body from year 1 to year 2 when they're in the NFL offseason program. Like the rookies, the second-year guys this year came in looking way bigger, big body transformations. I'm like, what's Quintariano going to look like? I think he might come in looking jacked because he was hurt last year. But yeah, Kenyon was not in shape at all. Max says get Stutes in here. I just talked to Stutes. He's at Costco. He likes some bread from Costco. Stutes is so weird sometimes. But subscribe to Stutes' channel. He does a good job. We got to know the inside on the D-Hop trade. No idea. Oh, you're talking about the McNair maybe? Is Cal going to be involved in draft decisions? Strongly doubt it. Do you think it's a lock? Daniel asks, do you think it's a lock they draft a QB now that they drop down to 2? I don't know. Man, y'all got a lot of arguments going on. Bear stuff. Lance said on the radio this morning he talked to Mechie's agent and they expect him to be ready to play next season. Well, there you go. Lance is a plugged-in dude. So if he talked to the agent, there you go. I know he's been working out a little bit and he's feeling pretty good, but if Lance said it, then I would believe it. I actually wouldn't mind Gannon at all. The main reason being his connection with Frank Reich and could potentially bring him along as OC. Yeah, that's the rumor, is that Frank Reich would be on Gannon's staff, which would be cool. You have an experienced head coach in that. I guess Chris is saying the dude wondered why Petrie wasn't getting love for defensive rookie of the year. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. So that's why you're talking about the stat padding. I didn't mean to put you out there right there. A proper DC would do wonders for Petrie and Stingley, no doubt. Playoff predictions. You want playoff predictions already? Goodness gracious. I'll do those on Friday at 1. We'll do those Friday at 1. I'm kind of leaning Giants right now, but we'll do those. We do those Friday at 1, but we don't do like a pick segment. Is there anything more whack than pick segments? I made fun of Stutes about this. Like, what is this? Here's our picks. These are the standings. Oh my God. I'm 5 games above 500. Oh, you're 7 games below 500. It's like Beavis and Butthead sitting on their couch talking about picks. These are my picks. Let's go. Hate that. Last week we were 1-4. This week 3-2. Let's make the picks. So bad. So we do like headline showdown stuff like that. We try to mix it up a little bit. Need to do picks. We'll make predictions every once in a while. I said TCU was going to get beat down yesterday. They got beat down. I also said the Raiders were going to win the division, so can't win them all. Honestly, every candidate they've requested to interview so far would please me. Sure, I have preferences, but all have been well qualified. No doubt. Should we grab Derek Carr, disguise our draft strategy, and mentor backup QB? I don't know. If they get in the veteran mix, I think it would be more Garoppolo or Stidham or something like that. But I don't know. You know, it's not really 100% Casario's idea. Let's get into these candidates and the drama report. We actually kind of got into the drama, the Josina Anderson thing. It's interesting. I'm not dismissing Josina. I'm just saying sometimes sources, some of them give you good information. Some of them give you not necessarily bad information, but they give you observations. And, you know, if a high-ranking official watches the Nick Caserio press conference, they might have the same reaction that we did yesterday. Something's weird. He's saying some weird stuff. What's going on there? And then they'll say, that was weird. And then a reporter will say, sources said this. So yeah, I mean, I don't think she really said anything that we didn't think. I mean, we were immediately speculating what the hell is going on with Caserio, what's up with Cal, all this. So sometimes when like a national reporter puts that out and says, like that, I mean, it's really nothing new. And that's kind of my pet peeve with some local guys. If you cover the squad well, like what a national guy says should be like kind of secondary. I mean, it's good to hear a national perspective, but sometimes, guys will have, and I'm not trying to be like radio expert now, but I just went off on the corniness of the pick segment. But like they'll say something that's just like common sense, and then a local guy who runs with it, it's like, why? Like, you're supposed to be the voice of the people. You're supposed to have a pulse of something. So like if, I don't know, some ESPN analyst comes on and says, I really think that Jack Easterby is a big distraction. No kidding. Like, no kidding. Probably tell you a little bit more about it than, the national guy, because they're not paying as much attention. So I don't know, like what Josina says, I think is probably true, but we thought that just watching the press conference. Now the reaching out to the owner part is interesting, but that was more just kind of like a little bit of a subtle bomb. Like people are reaching out. So no, the other Josina's pretty connected though, no doubt. She works her ass off. She grinds more than 99.9% of the people out there, and she has a unique way of doing it. Some might, say, well, why does she have the dark lights, and why is she, like the whole vibe, like it's kind of like a lounge type vibe. I like it. I like the different thing. I don't, I'll take that over, just putting out transactions that nobody gives a crap about. So I'm actually a pretty decent, I'm a pretty big fan of Josina. But you got to take all reports with a grain of salt, especially during lying season in this. Please tell me you're going to keep doing headline showdowns during the playoffs. I love it, even though Figgy favors Lopez. For sure, we'll do those, and it'll be less, so it'll probably be better quality. I think even with Mechie coming in, they should draft another receiver in the first 2 rounds. They should draft another receiver in the first 2 picks. Mechie's not a like number 1, number 2 type. Mechie's like a slot guy who adds another element. McClain wants all the smoke. Man, that dude came in there. John McClain came in there cussing me out today, literally 5 minutes before we got on the air. Before he got on the air. He came in during the 10:52 break, and it's a love cuss out. So like me and McClain, we F with each other. Me and McClain are cool. Like we text regular. Text him today, talk to him. I love McClain, but I like busting his balls because I just don't want him to come in there and, it's just like go through the motions. So y'all hear live reads. Y'all hear me stumble over them. You hear Sean Pendergast hoe out and have like 500 of them. Seth has them too. And live reads are supposed to be like a minute. And John McClain doesn't usually do live reads. And John McClain's not like someone who's going to drive a show. So we look on the log and Figgy says, hey, John McClain has a live read at 10 o'clock. And I go, damn, because John McClain's lost some weight. He's on that soda weight loss. So I'm like, damn, I'll help him out. I'll guide him through it. So I get the talking points from Sean. I asked Sean, hey, what's the soda weight loss talking points? It's sodaweightloss.com. And then he says something like, there's something you click on or whatever. It's not a free plug for soda. I don't do soda. But so I tell John when he comes in, I'm like, hey, I'll guide you through this live so that he doesn't have to do the talking points and he can just do his story. You stupid. I don't need you holding my hand. I don't need you telling me what the F. I've been doing this for 40 damn years. You don't think I've ever heard a live read? And he's just, Figgy's crying, laughing. Lopez is crying, laughing. And I'm like, okay, well then what's the website, Hot Shot? He says that. And I say, well, what do you click on? What's the promo? He goes, I don't know. And I'm like, okay, well, I got you. And he's like, okay. So we do the live read. He screws it up. And then I have to come in and help him, and he does it. It's probably the best live read that they've ever had, the most entertaining. That dude was coming in there cussing my ass out today before we even got on the air. David asks about Bieniemy. I'm good on that, man. And I think over half the league has been good on that. Look, I know he's been kind of a little bit of a people's choice, but look, Bruce Arians had to wait 25 years or whatever to get a head coaching job. Sometimes it happens. And sometimes the guys making the hires, they know more than we do with the Bieniemy thing. We know Andy Reid calls the plays there. I know Andy has given Bieniemy the play sheet. He actually had it against the Texans, which I wonder if they were just kind of treating that like a walkthrough or whatever. And I know he had it at times when they were trying to get him the gig a couple of years ago. But even Mahomes with that ring around the rosy play said, we drew it up ourselves. He said that we drew it up ourselves as players. We asked Andy Reid, and Andy liked it and stuff like that. And that's not to say like Mike Kafka wouldn't call him plays there. Nick Sirianni wouldn't call him plays in Indianapolis. By the way, what a good job Nick Sirianni to have two assistants that are head coaching candidates already just 2 years into his tenure. You got to give him a lot of credit for that. But yeah, I mean, sometimes sometimes the Bieniemy stuff, like the teams just aren't as interested. So no, I'm not on Bieniemy. But I do hope he gets a chance eventually. But you can ask Bruce Arians sometimes, man. And Bruce Arians, I don't even know if Bruce Arians gets his opportunity if Chuck Pagano doesn't get sick. And he just took that opportunity and he completely capitalized on it and took full advantage. Best case scenario is the Colts trade a haul and get a bust. That would be nice. You should bring Figgy on the show. He has some good opinions. I think you and B. Scott would make a great podcast, like Landry After Dark or something. Yeah, B. Scott was fun yesterday. He did his thing. He's one of the most plugged in, connected cats around here. So I'm a big fan of him. I think we may have to jump the Titans up to the Eagles 10 to get a pick at wide receiver. Yeah, the Titans are definitely going to be in the wide receiver market. They might be in the quarterback market too. They might be in the everything market. They're going to have to cut Taylor Lewan too. The Titans are screwed. They're going to have an epic draft for that to happen. Cap says, and McLean botched the live read and you had to let him know he had extra time. Yes, that's the whole point. He comes in there cussing at me and all I wanted to do was help him out. Would you hate the idea of the Texans trade 12 pick and future assets to move back, try to get Anderson or Carter or any of these missed guys? Get the sure thing instead of Gamble Cleveland pick. I don't know. Like all bets are off after that. I would be down for anything. As far as the new candidates, Mike Kafka, big fan. D'Amico Ryan's big fan. We'll find out. The reports that, D'Amico isn't interested, we'll know whether that's true this week. I find it hard to believe. Just to be honest, I find it hard to believe that D'Amico Ryan's turns down an interview with the Texans. Find it hard to believe. We'll see. We'll know by Friday. We'll probably know by tomorrow if D'Amico turns down the job. And we'll know if, any of these guys turn down the job. It's not as unappealing as a lot of these national media types are making it sound. It's not. And you lose all credibility when you say they did Romeo wrong like Stephen A. did yesterday. That's ridiculous. Romeo had a cush job where he was basically just walking around and driving on a golf cart. And they let him be interim coach because he wanted to be. Like, did you think Romeo Crennel wanted to still coach? He was having the time of his life. So I think this is a very appealing job. I think if we had to power rank the most appealing jobs, I put this right up there with Carolina, who has a little bit of talent like on the roster before they get the quarterback. Arizona actually has a pretty good roster, although Kyler's going to be out, and there's question marks about Kyler. Indianapolis, they are bad. Like, that's a really bad roster, and their core guys are kind of getting a little bit older. They really don't have as much young talent as they once did. And they got an owner who I think wants to hire Jeff Saturday. So Indianapolis would be at the very bottom. Denver, okay. Do you want to coach Russell Wilson for a couple years? Sean Payton might want to. And maybe Sean Payton can get the most of Russell Wilson, but I don't think Denver's like an awesome job. You also have Patrick Mahomes in the division. You have Justin Herbert in the division. So you'll have to figure that out. Although, 3 teams can get in. We see it in the NFC East, and we see it quite often. 3 teams getting in the playoffs. But I don't think the Denver job is there. It's going to be very intriguing. We'll find out what happens with the Texans coaching search, and if D'Amico Ryan's going to turn down the job. Again, find it very hard to believe, especially with how often Andre Johnson is around. Good news is here in about 10 hours, we'll get a little bit of clarity. 10 and a half hours, we'll get some clarity from Nick Caserio. We'll hear what he has to say with Payne and Pendergast. We'll react to that on our show, talk about that. And we will also talk to Cal McNair hopefully on Friday. Thursday, there's a uniform unveiling event at the stadium. I'll try to take you guys behind the scenes of that. I'll go there. I think it's at 7. Actually, I think it's at 5:30. They're going to give us a little sneak peek of what they're thinking uniform wise. Now it's a big process. They can't just run out new uniforms next year. I think it's going to be the year after. And we'll see some gear unleashed, but they're going to be pretty legit. So I'll take you behind the scenes of that, take you behind the scenes with Cal McNair. It's at 6:30. And I'll keep this whole thing going. Like the video. Bears guy was right. You got to like the video. It helps. Helps me, helps you, helps us. Like the video, subscribe, spread the word, download the Odyssey app, In the Loop on Sports Radio 610. It's going to be fun. Business is picking up. Mike Kafka back in the mix. Is the drama gone? Don't know. We'll probably get some clarity from Nick Caserio tomorrow. I'm sure he'll be asked to reply to that report. Actually, I know he will be. Sean and Seth will ask that question. And no matter what they do, no matter what Cal does, no matter what Nick says, no matter who they pick, no matter what coaches say yes to the interviews, no matter what coaches say no, we are all in this together. Have a good night.